This video is the final installment of a 6-part series, so if you haven't seen the previous videos, be sure to check them out before starting this one. Alright, so we've finally made it to the finale. Let's see how Riri will wrap this story up and save the day after trading her AI best friend for black magic jet fuel. We begin with yet another flashback of Parker committing this robbery with the homie John, but now with the added context that he was about to get caught until none other than Mephisto appears to him in human form and helps him escape. Of all the places they could have decided to debut Mephisto, Ironheart is certainly one of the weirder choices. In a very long-winded scene, we learn that Mephisto took Parker on as his disciple and gifted this cloak to him to help him serve better while getting himself rich along the way. We cut to the present, where Zeke Stain lectures us about the immorality of eating caviar.
Well, don't be shy. You tried the caviar?
Something about being held against one's will kills the appetite. Besides, eating animal babies is unethical.
You know what's more unethical than eating animal babies? Letting them go to waste. But thankfully, no babies are even present at this table, because caviar is unfertilized, you clowns in the writer's room. Then we watch Zeke get repeatedly surprised by the fact that he can't control his own body.
Eat. Eat.
I'm not doing this.
Come on.
I'm not going anywhere with you.
You would think he would learn at some point. Then we rejoin Riri as she struggles to handle the loss of AI Natalie, but then she decides that she will deal with it later and makes defeating Parker a higher priority. Her friends and family suggest that this is a bad idea because her new suit is completely untested and they have no idea what the magic boost even did to it, but Riri is an idiot, so she ignores them. So we cut back to Parker as he argues with Mephisto about how this deal isn't working out for him. Eventually Mephisto declares that he'll make Parker more powerful if he can sustain what he currently has already. While this is going on, Riri and Zeke Stain have a rematch. For some reason, this fight is much more friendly and silly though, as both parties agree that Riri must kick Zeke in the groin, as that is the only way they can break his mind control, and she pulls this off while he repeatedly grovels and apologizes for fighting back against his will.
Careful! Sorry! Don't need to do this!
It's one of, if not the shittiest fight scene Marvel has ever put to screen. Congrats to everyone involved. They hit a major milestone here. So she breaks the mind control and offers to make peace with Zeke, but he declines and says he will come for her again in the future. And in response, Riri just leaves.
Go handle Parker. Just know you and I aren't done.
Like, what? You don't want to tie him up or send him to jail or even kill him, since that sort of thing is apparently not beneath you? You're not even going to say anything? You're just going to freely let him go to cause you further harm in the future. Man, Ironheart sucks. Thanos is dead, Ultron is dead, Surtur is dead, but Zeke Stain? Yeah, let's keep that guy around for future installments. Why not? Anyway, Riri confronts Parker at last. She never actually confirms if he killed Rampage or not, so the plot point that started this whole thing is just left to interpretation, I guess. Parker points out that Riri uses her suit only for crime, and never to save the day like a real hero. In response, Riri attacks him.
You have your fancy suit, but you're not gonna use it to stop a speeding train or save the city from an asteroid. No, you just want this power for yourself.
That's not why I'm here. It's not worth the cost.
Face it, Riri. You're a criminal.
So yeah, he is just correct, and there's no deeper discussion needed on this topic. They have a crappy CGI fight.
Give me the hood, Parker!
Despite initially acquiring the magic boost for a power source, Riri appears to now have some level of magical abilities built into her suit that merely result in visual noise, because she doesn't know how they work.
Wait, we still need to test your suit to see how the magic's affecting it. Like, we still don't even know why adding magic deleted Natalie.
And the audience especially doesn't know how they work, so the story pretty much boils down to things happening with no rhyme or reason. It's also worth noting that this fight, along with the fight against Zeke Stain, are both extremely short, lasting only a handful of minutes combined. So if you were jumping into this finale hoping for a big spectacle, like everything else in this show, prepare to be disappointed. Then Riri starts getting wrecked in spite of her epic suit, so she pulls off this insane maneuver, in which she appears to self-destruct, while not harming herself at all, nor Parker, but then she reveals the whole scenario to be a hologram.
Pretty sweet hologram, right?
That doesn't make any sense. How do you trick someone into thinking that they were hit by a holographic explosion? How does a fake explosion launch him backwards and damage the room? How does he spot hologram Riri and not the actual glowing metal suit that is in the same room? That is some stupid, lazy bullshit that wasn't built up in the story in any way, yet this is her big trump card that she uses to defeat the final boss with. This show is so disgustingly terrible, dude, and it drives me crazy knowing that there are people out there who swear up and down that this embarrassing mess is actually legitimately great television. How low do your standards have to be to reach that conclusion? You people must be masochists if you're willing to endure this fresh hell. Well, anyway, Riri snatches the cloak and causes Parker to writhe like a gremlin. Then she just walks away. Again, just leaving this pawn of Mephisto completely free to take revenge in the future. Why does she do this? Because Riri is an absolute moron. The writers could not have failed harder at portraying her character the way they wanted to. And speaking of Mephisto, here he is again, as he awaits to chat with Riri. He easily erases her armor from existence, and her very human response is to just be like, "Give it back."
Give me my shit back.
The one time a panic attack would actually be warranted, and she chooses to plank out. They then have a long conversation, in which Mephisto formally introduces himself while taking jabs at Dormammu.
Okay, Mr. Dormammu man.
Dormammu? Dormammu! That ugly pillock isn't fit to clean my glorious arsehole.
And maybe this is just big villain ego talking here, but under no circumstance is Mephisto the more powerful of the two. So hopefully the MCU will set the record straight soon, but regardless, Mephisto makes it very clear that he is a creepy, untrustworthy metaphor for Satan.
I help people realize their wildest ambitions. People like you. Dormammu! You're capable of building something
Iconic.
Love my job, you know, I do.
And explains how his minions are powerful and widespread, with his examples saying more about the writers than the villain himself, such as having 3 popes being on the list, even though that logic seems incredibly backwards, but they love to take jabs at the church, so they'll do it any way they can. Then he also lists Shakespeare and Ringo Starr as some of his other followers.
You're like a modern day Shakespeare. He was also a twat.
Plus 14 kings, 3 popes, and also a Beatle. Ringo.
And it's just like, damn, what did they do to deserve this slander? Especially the still living and relatively harmless Ringo Starr. Pretty uncool. They should have named Kevin Feige instead. But apparently, after all her trials and tribulations, including joining a criminal gang without knowing what kinds of work they get up to, and after losing her AI best friend to black magic, Riri has learned absolutely nothing because she is an idiot. So she takes a deal with Mephisto in order to get the real Natalie back, thus cementing herself as the true villain the show was building her up to be. And that's where the show ends. She makes a deal with the devil, and consequences are sure to follow. My only hope with this is that the writers are aware of what a selfish, stupid, shallow, greedy wretch of a character they made, and continue her story with such characteristics in mind. But based on Marvel's track record, the more likely outcome is that they'll continue to portray her as a virtuous victim who is deserving of an Avengers position. And if that's the case, then Marvel has truly and completely failed here. What they have done with this story is introduce a Tony Stark wannabe who has none of the previous character's discipline and wants to copy his weapons so she can sell them to the public, even though that goes against everything that Iron Man stood for. She is a viciously greedy character, so much so that she was willing to sell her stepdad's valuable heirloom of a car, then later scrap it for parts. She was also willing to join a clearly shady gang and perform criminal acts with no questions asked for the sake of money. She was willing to turn to black magic in order to gain a quick and easy power-up instead of learning how to build her own arc reactor, the way Tony Stark did in that one cave with that box of scraps. Then, after learning how black magic comes at a dangerous cost, such as deleting her AI friend, and after learning that pursuing money through any means necessary can lead to a lot of danger, she still decides that it is a good idea to make a deal with someone who is very clearly an evil demon. No questions asked. This story is mind-meltingly dumb, The comics were already terrible, the character was always derivative and never should have existed in the first place, and fans were begging very loudly for Marvel to not make this show, but they just couldn't listen, and now we have to live with this mistake. The obvious solution to fix this problem would be to never make this show in the first place, and pretend that Ironheart never existed, because she has only ever been a illegitimate knockoff. But if you absolutely had to make a show to fill this time slot, I would say the most potential this show had lived within the AI Natalie storyline. If they cut out all the other stupid evil crap and honed in on the deep ethical dilemmas that would be caused by recreating your best friend as an AI companion, then you would have an infinitely more interesting plot on your hands. For example, let's say Riri creates AI Natalie similar to how she does early in the show, and it starts out like this fun, happy reunion, but after some time, trouble arises as Riri finds that Natalie is not all that reliable as an AI assistant. She would rather have typical, easygoing teenage girl fun, since that's what her personality was designed to emulate. It starts out as a mild frustration for Riri, having to repeatedly ask for Natalie to get her work done, but then the problems become much more serious as the danger of Riri's enemies grow more imminent. Riri knows deep down that she needs a more reliable AI than Natalie, but the appeal of having her friend back keeps her trapped in a complacent delusion, though eventually the delusion gets shattered after she builds up the courage to share AI Natalie with her friends and family. And in being people who truly care about Riri, they tell her the harsh truth that this AI is nothing more than a cheap imitation that disrespects the memory of her true friend and is actually putting Riri and themselves in danger, as this AI is faulty and is failing to properly do its job, instead of passively accepting this AI against their better judgment. From there, Riri can realize that this is in fact not her old friend resurrected, but in actuality is a fractured imitation based solely on the limited memories of Natalie that Riri held in her mind at the time that the AI was mapped. So now she is faced with the tough decision of having to delete the AI, thus metaphorically having to kill off her friend a second time, though a twist could manifest through Natalie catching wind of Riri's intentions and rebelling against her, having a feigned desire for autonomy and a will to live, because that's what she believes the real Natalie would want as well. It would be especially disastrous, given that Natalie has access to Riri's suit, as well as the rest of her tech, and could hijack all of it, leaving Riri with nothing, and thereby making Natalie the true main antagonist of the season, instead of her AI self spontaneously getting deleted and having her story go nowhere. A plot like this could be much deeper, more sincere, and more fascinating than the disjointed slop that we were presented with. All that would be required is a little bit more effort from the people making these shows, but they don't seem willing to do that, so you should be sure to like and subscribe to catch the reviews for whatever they make next.